Doing tonight. My name is Jamie Morris, joined by the one and only Stevan. Indeed.
Hello, hello, indeed, I'm here once again after missing last week. Oh, I hate you so much. But I'm glad to be back for the final round this season. This season has flown past and we have an exciting championship battle here for the Belgium Grand Prix here. What do you reckon about this season, Jamie?
And it's ups and downs like every single season has, but I think it's been pretty enjoyable to watch so far. We've had some very chaotic races, as last week proved to be as well. So hopefully, what we will see here tonight is going to be very interesting. Because look at the weather; it's intermediate conditions, so these drivers then have to suffer through 18 minutes of these wet conditions on the intermediates then. So let's see how these drivers will get on. It's 7 kilometers long as well, so obviously they'll go for more than a few laps of fuel in the car just to get a feel for the track, and obviously the tyres will grip it, as get the groove and rhythm, because obviously on the intermediates it takes longer to warm up and they don't overheat as much as well like the soft do as well, so you can go for more than one lap, plus your ERS doesn't really run out. Maybe just do a push, go down push and do the same then, but you can do more and more laps as the session progresses then. So let's see then if it does rain in the race as well, because if it does rain and let's say it's like these conditions, then they need some intermediates left as well, so strategy might play out as well here. But last time out we were in Jeddah in the Middle East along the Red Sea, and it was Nathan JB who won that race too after Troye sustained penalties, and that promoted Tony up into P2, which closed the deficit between himself and AXA, and that's the gap between those two are 10 points as well, so it's mighty close to the championship, all to play for tonight. But Stevan made the best driver win out of AXA and Tony.
Indeed. There you go. Said it again. Doesn't matter. I'm looking forward to this championship battle here, as we have two really good drivers competing against each other here for the Belgium Grand Prix. We've seen some new drivers as well, like Smolly Balls in showing reserve for the final round. There, glad you're finding that funny there, mate. But yeah, we're looking forward to a good Grand Prix. It will be dry in the race, with maybe some rain at the end there, but so yeah, it's gonna be interesting conditions for sure. I hopefully get to see some good driving.
And if you say it's going to be dry conditions in the early part of the race and wets in the later, that's what might happen. They will all might go on the hardcore part tyre and wait for the rain to come, so they have to make a pit stops from hards to mediums onto the inters. So I think medium hards to the inters. So I think every driver will start on the hardcore part tyres if that's the case. I saw one driver in the background peel off into the pit lane there. Was that a Williams? It was a dark car, a blue car, so I think it was a Williams who dived into pit lane. We've got both Alpines on the track because they're following each other, which is AXA and Leo. We've got Julian coming up through Eau Rouge and Radion as he experiments with the throttle to see how much throttle he can take through there without lighting the rear tyres up, because that is ever so difficult climb up the hill in the wet conditions. Flat out in the dry conditions as he reaches 207 miles an hour, 330 as he misses the apex into Lacombe, goes a bit deep. He compromises his next run into turn number 8 there, but just gets away with it then. So his lap time, it won't be as good as he thought it'd be, but he's going to continue down into Rivage then into 4th gear, just experiment with the throttle there, short shifting to reduce that wheel spin down into 4th gear. Doesn't really take too much curve on the apex, but he gets so squirrely coming out of no name then as we make our way down into P1, and this is a fast left-hander. So Tony, has he crashed? Where is that? Has he got a qualifying ban?
He's got a qualifying ban, so that is going to make this race even more spicier because of the amount of penalties he had. He will be starting in P19, so that is definitely an advantage for Aurelian right there, who has always been so consistent throughout the season and will certainly be in the top 4 here for today. So Tony's got a really difficult job to do here to work his way up. There will be some safety cars potentially throughout the race here, but with Tony being P19 for the race, it's going to make his job very difficult here, making his way through the field. But Belgium is a difficult circuit to get right here, so So there's, if he can keep it on track, then he certainly has got opportunity to work his way up to the top 5 here, as Julian said fast lap with a 155.3, quickly beaten by Leo, who's done a 154.3, who's has actually beaten his teammate Aurelian with a 154.4 here, while most drivers are just going to do multiple laps to get used to the conditions here and then build up some confidence. So these are not accurate lap times here, as Presby goes into P4 156.1. Joshua Evans, Porsche Evans now actually is retired here. Recently has got promoted to a PSGL media graphic designer or something, so congratulations to him. Definitely his high point of the season, which is off track, coincidentally. So so yeah, congrats to him, but hopefully he can do better in the final round today.
And we just saw both AlphaTauris cross the line and Nathan not get a representative lap time. Everybody's out of the circuit. I noticed there were yellow flags all over the circuit as all the drivers there just struggling to get in the grips of conditions there. I did see a Red Bull that was stationary on the track at the exit of Stavelo. That is Josh, unfortunately, who has crashed at the exit of Stavelo. That is a difficult ride, even in a dry as well, because that can catch right easily, even though it is a fast corner. Here comes Troye, and he goes up into P2 with a 54.3 then, so only 4 thousandths away from Leo, so not a bad lap time whatsoever as the RP driver remains at the top. They're not challenged by the 11 drivers who have got their lap times on the board then, but we're just awaiting those guys further down with 2 retirements on the board, and that was Tony because he's got a qualifying ban, and Josh, that's because he just crashed out there. But all the drivers except Snoken, Walter and Kenny are in the pit lane then on the track, so we're going to see Nathan coming through P1 right now, as he did, I think, made a mistake on his first flying lap because he hasn't set a lap time just yet. I'm not quite sure if he went out later than the others. His teammate is right behind his small was 22 minute 25.1, so that's not a representative lap time. And Snoken's actually retired somewhere on the circuit, so he's gone. Aurelian then, so that's the fastest lap of the race. He goes 4 tenths quicker than his previous best 10, so he's finding more confidence as the conditions and the time goes on in this qualifier session. His teammate decided to go for a cool down lap, so he's going to give it a good go on his next lap, see what lap time he can find. Obviously, you don't want to. Oh, Nathan there sliding through the exit of Blanchimont there, the car going off the track, so that won't help him whatsoever. But at least he hasn't got validation as he makes his way now through the bus stop chicane, and let's see what lap time he can set along with his teammate too, Smalley Balls in P12. Here comes Nathan with a 55.9, and Smalley Balls stays in where is he? Up into P8 with a 55.8, so only a tenth quicker than his teammate, as both AlphaTauris are close together. Troye is 6 tenths quicker in the middle sector, so he's finding some decent pace in that Ferrari as he makes his way through Blanchimont, 300 kilometers an hour that was. And then it's Safu up into P7 there, just behind Bompier, separated by 3 tenths. Reservoir up into P6, Victor up into P5. Here comes Troye now in the Ferrari. Let's see what lap time he can set. This could be a good lap time, you know. And it is, wow, that's 5 tenths clear of Aurelian in the P2 there.
For sure there, with Aurelian actually invalidated on his this attempt right there, so he's gonna just save the tires, cool the tires down and go for another run after it, since he probably has got a bit of fuel left in the car, and then switch onto another set of tires, and then to end the qualifying session here. But with Leo has the purple sector, not sure if that's fully accurate, but seems to be improving on that time as well. The Alpine, both Alpines looking quite strong again once again in qualifying, same as in Mexico where they locked out the front row and had a really good performance in the race as well. So hopefully can Leo complete this lap well here, coming around the final corner. A bit of a poor exit there in the final turn, but goes into P2, 2 tenths behind. If he just nailed bus stop better, then he probably would have beaten Troye right there, but still P2 position isn't too bad, as the top 3 are very clear of the rest of the field.
And Victor there in the Aston Martin has moved up into P4 just ahead of Julian then. And apologies about the block box on the left hand side of the screen. That is somebody invited me to a party, so apologies about that one. We've got Bompier who's 2 tenths up in his middle set, so that's going to put him up into P5, where Smalley Balls has just gone, and he's a few hundreds slower than Victor as well. So as you can see there, these drivers on the inters are going for multiple lap times then, as Bompier now makes his way through the bus stop chicane where we saw Sebastian Vettel hit the side of Jenson Button as we make our way now into the the final corner we go, as Bonpierre is going to cross the line now, and it's going to put himself into P6 there with a 54.8, so that's 1.3 seconds slower than Troye, but obviously these guys really, some guys loving the wet conditions here, and some aren't along the circuit as well. Just a lot of concentration as well that's put into these guys here that have to focus really hard 100% at all times, because it's a really long circuit, 7-kilometer circuit this is, and each corner is as difficult as each other, so a lot of concentration here to get the best lap times in. And Troye there up to P1, putting it all together ahead of the Alpine of Leo, who's 10th down that final sector. And here comes his teammate Aurelien now as he makes his way towards Blanchimont, as he actually running out of fuel as well. So this could be his last lap on this set of tyres before he dives into the pit lane to put on a brand new set of Inters and go for his next ones again, as Aurelien then makes his way towards the final 2 corner now. Let's see if he could beat Troye. It's going to be a 53.4, so he does beat him by a few hundreds, so good lap time there from Aurelien to respond back and put his car into pole position. He's going to be quite nervy of Troye here, because Troye tends to hit the back of him. Now I'm only joking, Troye, but yeah, he's going to be quite nervous about that Ferrari in P2, because obviously Troye is just thinking about winning the race, whereas Aurelien's got a championship on his hands, so he doesn't want to risk it all with Troye, because his main target is down in P14. P3 drivers haven't set a lap time yet, Steven, which is Wouter, Carl and Kenny, who's in the pit lane still.
It is tricky conditions, of course, here in Spa-Francorchamps. In the dry, generally, it's quite difficult to get right, as actually Wouter sets a lap right now in P7 with a 55.2 there. It's more for wheel track. If you're on the controllers, you're gonna really struggle there with the traction, turn in, and even in the wet, it's 10 times worse. So all the drivers on the controller are really struggling, and you can clearly see that, because all the top runners, I think Troye is on a path, which he's doing really well, but apart from that, all the other drivers are really struggling right here to competitive lap time there. So it's a bit difficult to get right, Belgium in general, but drivers are getting the lap times down here, with actually some pitting right now, and trying to save some ERS potentially for their final runs there. But let's see what will happen in the final couple of runs.
Looks like Steve's finding some pace on Aston Martin as he's 6 seconds up at the middle sector there. So it looks like he's hooking this lap up now to set a representative lap time as he makes his way out the final corner. Let's see what lap time he could do. It's P5, just ahead of his teammates. So both Aston Martins here going really well. Last time we had a wet qualifying session like this was 2021, I believe, in those horrific conditions there where we didn't start the race, as obviously saw Lando Norris have his massive shunt at Eau Rouge, and both Aston Martins in P5 and P6 sharing the third row. I think both Force Indias back in 2018, as they were, did really well as well at the wet qualifying sessions with Perez and Ocon qualifying P3 and P4, and obviously we had that four-way battle going into Le Mans where Sebastian Vettel came out on top of it ahead of Lewis Hamilton in that same race. And obviously when we come to the Belgian Grand Prix this year, as you can see, the McLaren and AlphaTauri getting very close together. Hopefully they don't hit each other, because that will give them a grid penalty as they progress. But what I was talking about there, Wouter goes up into P6 in the Mercedes then, so he finally gets a lot of time on the board, and he splits both Aston Martins. But I was about to say about the Aston Martins, when it comes to this year in Belgium, it'll be a 5-year anniversary since they went into administration at mid-summer break at 2018, as obviously they went into bankruptcy with their old boss, who I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I'm not going to try it anyways, who put the team in bankruptcy, and he left. Then they became Racing Point afterwards, with Lawrence Stroll taking over, and then became Racing Point after that. Then obviously now 2023, Aston Martin, and their best performance yet, as the whole team together, as Spiker, Force India, Racing Point and Aston Martin all put together. This is one of their best seasons they're having so far.
For sure. And with Aston Martin just steadily developing in real life as well, getting new wind tunnel, I'm pretty sure, at least built last year, and with Fernando Alonso leading that team, it is going to be a interesting progress to see how they will develop against other teams like Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. But they're doing really well right now, and I'm surprised with Lance Stroll. He's competing on some sort of level against Fernando Alonso. That's not always easy with Alonso performing on such level for more than 2 decades, because of course he started in 2001 and it's now 2023 and he's still delivering on a high level. So it's a bit difficult for Stroll, and with that injury he had with his hand, it of course doesn't make it. It didn't make it any easier, and I think he's still trying to get used to that and build more strength in his hands, so he can actually perform better. So I think Stroll is doing okay, but Fernando Alonso just really saw what no one else really saw, because I didn't expect Aston Martin to be anywhere near the podium this season at least. I know they were quite competitive near the end of last season, but a podium I would not have expected at all right there.
I agree with you on that one. No one expected it. We all thought it was a bad call as Aston Martin. I think we're like 8th or 9th in the championship. Here comes Leo as he makes his way now towards the line. It's going to be pole position for the Romanian as he's 2/10 clear of his teammate then. So both Alpines there, as Aurelien has invalidated his lap time. 2 minutes left to go in this qualifying session then. So the battle looks like it's between the top 3 with Leo, Aurelien and Troye, as they're the only guys in the 53s then. So all eyes on them as the other drivers there just in the 54s with reservoir downwards in the 55s. So a clear difference here in the wet conditions, because usually it's so tight between all the field there as the gaps aren't so big. But looks like Aurelien then is going for another lap time. I think this could be his one more lap for him. He's 1/10 up in the first sector, so that's a good lap time for him. Can he hook it up in this mid part of the track? The slow speed corners in the rain as well. Going to be very patient, I thought. As you can see there, the back end just wanted to step out, and now we're heading down into a forest end, just hugging the inside curb, waiting to get on the throttle, upshifting double into 5th gear to minimise the wheel spin, taking a wide entrance in there to get a good exit. Does he use the curb? Yes, he does. He goes off the track as well to use more of it, and now we're making our way into P1, then using the curb on the outside and getting ever so close on the inside of P1 there, which can catch a lot of people out, especially in the past there, getting beached on that curve too. 50-meter board, just almost taking the curve there, but he didn't want to. He was a bit hesitant going into that corner as he hugs all of it on the left hand side. Now we're going into this right hander here, down into 4th, up into 5th, immediately on the exit, using all the curve again. He's 3/10 up in the middle sector. Now we're coming through Stavolo as he can finally get on the throttle, then flat out, and now it's going to be all the way down to the push-up chicane. Will it be a slight lift off? Troye goes into P2 in the Ferrari. That wasn't enough though to take Leo on. Downshifted to 7th there. He was fully flat. Well, he was on the throttle all the way to 7th gear there, just revving it out, and now we're making our way to the bus stop chicane. Get it slowed down as much as you can and wait till you get on the throttle. Braking traction. What's it going to be from Aurelien? It's going to be pole position for him with a 53.0 then, so he puts that car back at the top. Both Alpines here going strong. This is their final flying lap then, so Aurelien and AXA have got one more lap in their disposal to try and take pole position or stay there. Troye's got one more attempt as well. He's going for it in the Ferraris, but running out of ERS as well. It's a few hundreds down as Resify finally gets a good lap time on the board, and he's up into P4 then, so good result for him. Obviously he took pole position in Monaco, and this is the highest he's been so far. Besides that, anybody out there to make an improvement? We've got rotation a few hundreds down in that middle sector. Smalley balls up into P6 in the AlphaTauri. Last week's Grand Prix race winner Nathan P50. What's up, Steve-Man?
And Leo has spun, so he can't improve on that run there, so he'll be P2 there. Rotation hasn't improved. He stays in P5 there, beaten by both Ferraris who have got a good qualifying there. So it looks very likely that Aurelien's got pole position. So this looks to be a bit of a disaster for Tony at the moment, who's now in P17 there. If you go on board with Aurelien right now, let's see what he can do. Troye is actually improving as well by about 3/10 near. But will that be enough with Aurelien also finding a bit of time right there? If you can catch his middle sector right there, loosen the car a bit, having a bit of oversteer there on the curb. But it looks nice and tidy for pole position at the moment as he's matching his time pretty much. So what can Troye do? If Troye can find a bit more time in the final sector, then he can get pole position maybe.
Ooh.
And he does! And he does with 53.009. Good lap there from Troye, as he looks like he's gonna beat Aurelien right there. Aurelien makes a mistake, invalidated, so it will be pole position for the Ferrari driver of Troye. Shame you couldn't make that race in I don't know which race it was, but he couldn't join the session, and that really halted his championship aspirations, as he was in third place. And if he actually raced in that race, then he could have had a chance for the title here. But it's a good start to the race here for the Ferrari driver with his teammate in P4 as well. So it's going to be Ferrari against Alpine here for the race.
Yeah, great fight shaping up for the race. Will it be dry or will it be wet? Well, we already know the answer. It's going to be wet towards the end. So let's see how the drivers then play the strategy. I think they're going to go on the hard compound tyres until they have to go on the inters, because let's see if the rain comes in. Will the tyres last enough till the rain impacts the circuit? Obviously, if the safety car's coming out, that'll bring the rain quicker. And there we are then. It is Troye is on pole position then for the Belgian Grand Prix ahead of AXA in P2. Leo, good qualifying performance once again. He's coming strong once again, is Leo. Difficult few races I've seen from him. And Saudi Arabia wasn't good either for him as he clipped the wall. But look at that, P4 downwards or a second off. So hopefully they've got some pace to manage that, because the top three, Aurélien, Leo and Troye, were just in a league of their own, as Resify is a second off Leo as well. So hopefully they've got the race pace to come back stronger. Victor at his home Grand Prix out-qualifies the Dutchman Asib in P8 ahead of Bompier P9, Julian in P10, with Wilder just outside the top 10 there, with Nelly Safu in P12, Nathan last week's race winner in P13, with Delano P14, Kenny, who had a good Dutch Grand Prix when they were in the wet conditions, not turned out to be here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Carl in P16, and three drivers, which are Tony, Snowken and Posh Evans, haven't set a lap time due to a crash from Evans, Snowken and disqualification from Tony. Despite being disqualified from qualifying, still P17 then, so he's ahead of two drivers at least.
Exactly there. And with the race being dry, of course, at the start, will the drivers pick a dry setup or a wet setup? It's going to be a gamble, because do you want to be high up in qualifying, or do you want to have a better race car? And I think most of the drivers just picked a dry setup, hence why it was a bit of a struggle maybe for some drivers. So I do expect the race to be closer in general, because we don't see drivers like Wouter all the way down in P11, drivers like Carl van den Berg maybe P16 is usual for him, but hey, let's see how the race is gonna go. I'm gonna looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Jesus.
Yeah, we've got a few drivers missing. We've got Issa Kush in the Aston Martin missing, replaced by Victor. We've got Javon Vizza also missing, who's replaced by Smalley Balls in the McLaren as well. And AJ Houhan is not here too, so Delano takes his seat once again. LOI driver joining in once again, as we have two of them appeared this season, which was Jack as well. I remember his performances in Monaco and his punch at the French GP when he took them a long way. Unfortunately, couldn't make amends, so Jack's gone, and Smalley Balls has gone as well, so hopefully he can join the session back once again, because his qualifying position was decent. But season recap then, I remember the beginning of the season, we were talking about, can we have 7 different winners here in 7 races? And after that, it all stopped after Troye took 2 in a row for the first time in 7 races. Issa Kush won the first Grand Prix ahead of Aurélien. He just had the pure pace ahead of Aurélien and Tony. And Jack had a good result in P4 too, with Leo in P5. Kenny had a decent result too, despite a difficult race. Brazilian Grand Prix, we saw major contact between Javon, Troye, AXA and Wouter, and Tony took advantage of that with Liam in P2. Bompier scored his first podium in the second round of the season, and he claimed P3 with Hella Sieb, and Tony there was able to start his championship aspirations after Aurélien and Wouter retired from that race. Both Alpines actually retired in that race at the Brazilian Grand Prix due to heavy contact. And at the Monaco Grand Prix, it was Resify who took pole position, and Leo went on to win that race because he had a bad race, did Resify, after clipping the apex, loses his end plate, and Troye, who was leading the majority of the race, actually had to slow down because of his fuel, and he actually won the race, but Leo got his penalties removed, which inevitably put him into P1 and secured his first race win of the season as well. Did Leo, so his performance hasn't been so bad so far. He's been under the radar this season. I think he's done a decent performance because he has scored a few podiums now and then, has Leo. And from that race, I could see Aurélien did not take part, as Troye. Sorry, Antonio. I get confused between Troye and Antonio. depends how you say it. At the French Grand Prix, Walter was able to overtake Walter, both being on different strategies, as Walter pitted later than O'Reilly there. Tony had nothing to respond with, and he managed to finish in P3, so not huge points taken off there, as O'Reilly lost the race win, being on a different strategy due to safety cars. Italian Grand Prix, O'Reilly just plainly won the race ahead of Tony, so nothing Tony could do there. And Dutch GP were all kicked off as well because it was wet conditions towards the end, and Troy managed to hold on ahead of Tony, and that's when Troy and O'Reilly made contact. So O'Reilly there lost points to the championship due to Troy hit the back of him, and that took a huge blow towards O'Reilly there, as Tony finished in P2, gaining a huge bunch of points. Azerbaijan. And that's where Tony had his misfortunes, because I remember saying they both had a contrasting race, as one retired in one and the other one retired in another, and O'Reilly finished in P2 like Tony did at the Dutch GP. So he lost all the points he gained actually on O'Reilly at the Dutch GP, and he finished in second place with Trey winning the race. And Portugal, it was Wilds ahead of Isa Kush ahead of Tony and O'Reilly P3, P4. United States, Walter won the race ahead of Tony, and that's when O'Reilly crashed again. Well, he did crash again. I think he had a collision with Tony. He finished in P2, and so O'Reilly lost a huge bunch of points once again. Hungarian Grand Prix, Tony had nothing to respond with. I remember that race because O'Reilly's straight line speed was amazing. He kept Tony at bay for a long time, and therefore couldn't overtake. Bahrain Grand Prix, Tony got demoted down to P5. O'Reilly finished in P3. Singapore Grand Prix, Giroud finished in P1 with Isa Kush in P2, as Walter, Tony and Trey was stuck, and that's when O'Reilly had his wheel problems. He started in last place, finished in 6th, not losing too much towards Tony in that race. Austrian Grand Prix, O'Reilly won ahead of Troy and Tony. And Mexican Grand Prix, O'Reilly won ahead of Leo, so it was an Alpine 1-2, and that's where Tony definitely took a big dent in his championship after he retired from that race. So 2 retirements there for Tony. Saudi Arabia, Tony finished in P2, gained back the points he lost on O'Reilly, who finished in P6 after getting spun out by Troy, and got spun out again in the second time in that race, and he still finished in P6 there, so not a huge amount of points lost there. So as we come into this race, the gap is 10 points between O'Reilly and Tony. Who would win? Who will win tonight?
Well, the odds are against Tony right there down in P17, but I'm gonna back Aurelian because he's in P2. He's of course ahead in the standings, so it's looking very likely that he will win the championship. But never count out Tony, even though he's in P17. He could always make a miraculous comeback here, and even if he doesn't win the championship today, he's done a very good season, because you're competing against someone who is in esports challengers, PSG L1, now Talent Factory. That is not an easy task to go up against, and he was leading the season throughout. Yes, there were maybe some incidents against the two, but they had, like you said, one had the podium, one DNF, and then the other way around for the other race. So Tony's did a good season, as the cars are now lining up for the start of the Grand Prix.
Well, 2 drivers on the medium compound tyres, which is Julian P10 and Smalley Balls in P6 in the Alpha tyre. Maybe he did choose that Smalley Balls because sometimes the AI does. Maybe he did join back in time. But here are the lights then. 4, 5 lights. And we are underway for the final race of the season. Looks like Leo's had a bad start there. Here comes rotation up the inside, almost sliding into him. As you can see, Reservoir also gets involved. Troy takes the lead of the race as rotation down the inside of Leo there. There's an Alpha tyre, Smalley Balls gets involved as well. I think all the drivers have made it through cleanly, heading into turn 1. Now we go through Eau Rouge and Radion. We've got an Alpha tyre versus Ferrari. They go side by side, but it looks like the Reservoir is backed off, and Smalley Balls got off the track there. So I did have the downforce to carry the speed through the corner there, but Leo is still over the back of rotation. Might get it back for P3 in the slipstream of his teammate then. They're going wheel to wheel as we head into Le Combe. Leo has the outside line. Rotation stays on the curb. Is he trying to go around the outside? No, he's not. Rotation stays in P4. Smalley Ball stays ahead of Walter. Walter has had an amazing start there as well in P6. How many positions has he gained actually? 5 places already. Ah, that's an amazing start for Walter. Starts at P11 up into P6 as Victor's dropping places into P12 he goes, and Kenny down into P18 he goes. A few drivers swapping positions. Look at Tony. If I can change positions, there we go. Then Tony opens up P12 already from the start of the race, so that's 5 places gained, as the start he needs, a clean start and a few places gained.
For sure, everyone's been a clean start apart from Delano and Bush Evans, who just had a disaster of a season right there in the Red Bull. spun again, has got some front wing damage on the right hand side end plate there, so bit of a disaster season for him. But apart from that, clean start for the top guys here. Like you said, Wout had a good and a clean start, gaining 5 positions right there. Resify losing 3 positions there from P4, and he was side by side with Leo, so must have been squeezed up or something. Jerry just lost some time there.
Ooh.
But the overall clean start there. Also, you have some battling with Tonya up to P11. That's a good lap on there, starting P17 and now up to P11 right there. So good start there from Tony. Hopefully, he can carry on this momentum and gain as much time to Aurelian, who's gonna be the MP2. He doesn't have to fight Troy there. He can just stay in the DRS of Troy and let him do. Just follow him throughout the race, and then if he really needs to overtake it, then he can still do it because he can just save the ERS right there. So Aurelian's in a really comfortable position, especially with his teammate behind us. Smolly Balls has picked up a 3-second penalty right there. Got the corner a bit, trying to overtake the Ferrari Recified there, so he needs to be aware of track limits.
Yeah, rotation then almost hit the back of Leo going into the car as he tried to break later the smaller balls to stay ahead of him. But what I saw into Blanchimont between Nelly Safu and Tony was amazing. Tony went around the outside at full speed on Nelly Safu. I was very nervous for him because I thought he would go off the track or make contact with Nelly Safu, but that was super clean racing from both of them, caught it on stream as well. So that's one to watch back there as Tony then dispatches Nelly Safu quickly as he can. Now he's got Julian ahead of him. The problem for him is Julian's on the medium compound tyres. He's surrounded by Horriders ahead of him who might be stuck in the DRS train themselves, as Bonpierre is right behind Resify. So Resify drops a few places there from P4 on the grid, and he might be the second group in this DRS train. And this DRS train might be able to split up now, as the top 6 will be pulling away from Resify. Resify there will be vulnerable as the guys behind will have DRS as well, and Julian in P10 will be looking to pounce on those guys ahead on the medium compound tyres, capitalising on them before they run out to the end of the race on that stint there. So is Smalley Balls in P5 is still putting immense pressure on rotation ahead. He's just struggling to get past him as rotation is deep on the brakes there, but going to be very careful as Troye sets the fastest lap of the race then. I know what you're talking about with Aurelian there. He knows he doesn't have to risk it with Troy there. He could just stay second place if he wants to all race actually, but obviously he's a racing driver. He'll take the lead at one point. He's just playing the long game as Tony is alongside Julian into turn number 1 and he gets ahead of him as well. So Tony there making places up in 3 laps there, 7 places up already, but Julian is right behind him. Will he come back at him in the slipstream and DRS? But Tony has it as well to defend. There goes Bonpierre on the Ferrari. That's an easy move there for the Haasman, who gets past the Ferrari as Resify has no DRS to protect himself as he drops down into P8 then with Tony in P10. Puts the charge on, and let's see how many positions he can make up, as he might be finding it a bit difficult now with the guys ahead all being in one big train. But saying that though, we did get past Julian, who's on the medium compound tyres, but looks like Steve there got a bit out of shape coming out of Varge, heading into knowing we go, and Tony's all over the back of him, ready to pounce at any moment in time.
With Tony looking quite good shape right now, he's just looking forward to getting as many positions as he can, with just following behind the Aston Martin right now. We're looking a bit out of shape, like you said there, Jamie. But with Tony, he's got to be some sort of patience as well, because if he goes too quickly, then he's gonna just lose position because he might make contact with another driver there. So he has got to time his moves perfectly, not use too much ERS, go for sensible moves and think better of it, because these cars are on the train. Bonpierre's lost the ERS to Wouter right there, so he's got to pick his moves carefully, mainly on the straights right there, and it's actually realistic. That's the best thing he can do, and not run right like that. I can't speak today. A rotation is at fast lap with a 47.399. You can show some good pace there. Rotation has really improved in terms of pace, right? Because last season I'm pretty sure he wasn't anywhere near the top guys right there. And through some races here this season, he's been there in the top 4. Hasn't been able to deliver quite on that pace yet, but the potential is there for sure, so hopefully rotation can carry on momentum into next game.
I hope he can, because I know from the past he was a really quick driver, still is a quick driver as well, but I think he's just making a few adjustments to his setup. As Reservoir, they're going deep. Oh, he's screwing on the exit. I think Steve almost hit the back of him. Tony might fancy a lunge up the inside. He does, you know, going into the Ravage. That's a lovely move there from Tony, picking off his opponents one by one, and that mistake there was an advantage for Tony to come through. And now Reservoir is in the DRS of Bompia, but it looks like Bompia's starting to pull away now, and he's just dropped outside. If Tony wants to dispatch that Ferrari as quickly as he can then to get up to Bompia, and the gap between Bompia and Walter is 2 seconds there. So once Tony makes his way through these cars, is he able to close that gap down with no DRS whatsoever? Reservoir going off the track there, just exceeding track limits though. He's making a few mistakes now and then, but I think he is running no lines, so I think he's just adjusted to that. But let's see how long he can hold on for. I kept Steve at bay, but Tony's right behind him, so let's see if we can try and keep him at bay for the time being. Reservoir isn't out of TNT.
Who is? I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
Reservoir.
Well, actually, he left the team recently to go to NLR, which isn't a bad step, to be honest. Very happy to see him go progress to another esports team, which is not the worst one, to say the least. NLR, very good team there in the community right there. We've got some really good drivers and some good owners there, so do respect NLR, and having an opportunity to drive for NLR isn't the worst opportunity, even though it looks like the performance isn't turning out the way it has been so far, as he's dropping down the field, but having lost DRS to Bumpy right there, and with Tony now making the move past, he's lost 5 positions in 5 laps. So Reservoir is just really struggling in terms of race pace right there. Maybe he's set up his car more towards the wet, which is going to hamper his progress in the race.
Yeah, went a bit offline as well, going into Le Calm and out of it too. He did actually cut the corner here fully, as I think Julian's under pressure from Nelly Safu. Julian there actually go backwards then forwards, because he's on the medium compound tyres. He should be the quickest one out of this lot, but unfortunately not utilising those tyres enough to make his way through the field, and he's actually got off into P1 as well. So got a bit deep there is Julian, and Nelly Safu will be all over the back of his tail once again then, as the McLaren driver will be putting pressure on the outfield. Man, that's good news for Nelly Safu, knowing that the medium runner is struggling and you're able to take advantage later on. However, I could notice that Axa is right behind Troy, so this could be a move for the leader. Will he wait for the DRS? Oh, but Walter's got past Small Balls. He's made a mistake. He's spun coming out of Stavilo. And I've plenty of people do that before. It's such an easy thing to do. Maybe he was in that dirty air, the tyres were overheated slightly, getting on the curb as well on the outside just a little bit there, causing wheel spin, and unfortunately he spun. That promotes Tony up into P7, and now he's under pressure from the Aston Martin. He's looking to go around the outside as the inside line for the next car. That's Victor 06 then going side by side with Small Balls, who gets demoted down into P13, does the AlphaTauri then, so those medium compound tyres might be starting to feel it just a little bit there on lap 6, as both drivers on the mediums are starting to struggle just a bit. However, the top two continues on with their battle then between Troy and Axa. Well, Axa decided to make a lunge up the inside of Le Calm, and now we can see then, nope, he doesn't, because Troy defends that car beautifully, and he doesn't allow Axa to get past whatsoever. Julian picks up himself up a 3-second time penalty. Tony up into P6 he goes. Then what a staggering drive that's been there from the Williams driver, doing a fantastic job moving his way from P17 to P6 in 6 laps as well. So let's see if he can break out this DRS train then, because he'll be the leader of this train, the second half of the group. So let's see if he's able to pull that gap with his pure pace as well, and the ERS he has left as well at his disposal indicates he's using lower downforce setup, as Small Ball's gone for a spin once again then. So those medium tyres then definitely felt it so far, and they haven't felt it then, they've definitely felt it now, and Sieb gets a 3-second time penalty for his troubles as well. So quite a few drivers picking up penalties here in this stage of the race. The safety car will be bad for Tony whatsoever, as it's able to bunch in the gap. I think Carl's gone for a spin there at the exit of P1, and he finds himself then in the battle with Smiley Balls. Unfortunately, those two suffering around here at this 7-kilometre track, which has provided plenty of history in racing in his past. As Reservoir is dropping down the order, he was struggling, bless him, and he's lost his front wing, and that's triggered some sort of safety car. It is a safety car then, so this is going to be a massive advantage there, as Troy's in the pit lane. Oh, Rieland stays out. Let's see how this decision pans out for him then, as rotations followed him.
Well, this is gonna spice up this Grand Prix for sure, as we have Tony's staying out, so he'll be promoted up to P3 at least right there. We've got some drivers now switching over to the medium tires right there. This is gonna definitely open the Grand Prix. This is gonna turn out a bit like the 2010 final right there, where we had actually a four-way battle for the title right there, and we had an early safety car, not as early as right now, but this is for sure gonna open up this Grand Prix with Aurelian now taking the lead, but the guys behind on fresher mediums, so this could be a good thing for Tony now, as he's got only one car between him and Aurelian right there, and those cars on the mediums basically have to make another stop, but they can push more on those mediums and have better pace on those tires compared to the harder runners. So Aurelian has got a really difficult job to do with defending against those runs right there, as you can never count out Wouter and Troy right there. Troy's pace was looking quite good here. Tony's got, if Tony does win this Grand Prix right here, he's got to have Aurelian finish P4, so he's got to have Troy, Leo and Wouter all helping him out right there. Even rotation boosts the car behind Aurelian right now. So Aurelian's still looking in a good position right there, as he still will have good pace on those hard tires. But it's going to be interesting to see as the race has really opened up now.
And I don't think out of those drivers, Leo will not be helping Tony as he's teammates with Aurelian then. So Leo there can be crossed off that list. And like you said, those medium runners then, they got nothing to lose. They're just thinking about the race win or podiums while to open a good position in P7 then. So let's see who's made the right strategy. If I remember back to France, I think Aurelian... Oh, rotation spawn! Rotation spawn out of the safety car! Tony has been promoted up into P2. Wow, that is some scenes right there, it must be said. He spun before Stavolo, picking up the throttle way too early, and he's dropped into P15 then. And now, I think these drivers are slowing down, maybe because of the glitch that's happening. You can see all these drivers slowing down. And Victor gets a 5-second time penalty. That's a shame. That's Snoken, sorry. Let's look at the wrong car. So Snoken gets a 5-second time penalty, unfortunately for him. Not his fault whatsoever, it's just the game being the game, unfortunately, but that will end into 2023 when it comes out in June. Maybe that glitch will still carry on because you know what Codemaster's like anyway. But Tony, pivotal for him because he can see his championship rival in front of him despite starting in P17. That is crazy.
Absolutely crazy right there. We were just hyping up a rotation right there, and then he spins out of the Grand Prix. So I'm guessing that's commentary skills there at its finest. Can be difficult. Let's see how Tony will approach this safety car restart. I think the best thing for him to do is just start to overtake Aurelian as quickly as possible. Aurelian won't really fight him too hard, I reckon, but he has to realize that that the Ferrari of Troye, Leo and Wouter are all gonna push like hell to try to overtake them. Like, of course you're right about Leo being teammates with Aurelian, so not gonna fight him too hard, you'd reckon, but at the end of the day it's more of a driver's championship than a constructor's championship, so I don't think Leo will necessarily have a preference for Aurelian, despite them being teammates.
Remember back in 2010 when an Alpine, a Renault prevented a Ferrari winning the championship. Fernando Alonso was fighting the championship against Sebastian Vettel. They pitted early due to the safety car, Vitaly Petrov I think as well, and he stayed out there for a long time, and obviously they had no DRS back then, and Fernando Alonso lost the championship, could not get past Vitaly Petrov whatsoever, and Sebastian Vettel was the man who went to take that championship, claiming his second championship in his career so far. Well, so I say so far, his career has ended in Formula 1, but hopefully he'll be back. As rumours say, there's a lot of rumours and theories that are made up in the Formula 1 paddock suggesting that he might come back in 2026 for Audi once they come in to take Alfa Romeo Sauber. But we focus on them between the top two, are close together. Did not expect Tony to make up this progress at all. I don't think, Tony Is he thinking realistically or is he thinking optimistically about the championship? That's one of the two things, because he's in a great position so far. If he wins this race, will he care if he's lost it or not? Because he's been leading the championship all the way throughout the season, and he lost it, I think, at the Mexican Grand Prix or maybe Austria a few 2-3 rounds ago. So he was leading the majority of it. Now towards the end of it, he's lost it. But hopefully, or as I say, hopefully for him, so he can win the race and Aurelian settles for the championship in P1 there. But let's see then how it all unfolds. The guys behind the top three are on the medium compound tyres. They're much quicker. Julian had to go on the hards because he started on the medium. Same with the small balls, but he actually back on the medium compound tyres because I think he fitted the hards and went back on the mediums. Off we go then for racing action here. The tempo switched up as we make our way down into the final corner then, with Aurelian leading this race ahead of Tony. Bonpierre in P3, one of those drivers who stayed out there too. Which strategy is better? These guys going later, of course, extending their hard stint to go on the medium compound tyres later. In the background we can see an Alpine under pressure now from Walter as we head down into turn 1. These two going side by side then, and let's see who makes it out of these two. So close, almost wheel banging, but Walter's still there. Will he back out of it? Yes he will. Don't want to risk it going side by side through there into Eau Rouge. We saw Mark Webber and Fernando Alonso go side by side through Eau Rouge as well. I think Webber came out on top of that one, but Troye is right alongside Bonpierre and he's fully ahead now. He moves himself up into P3 then, so spend no time messing about at all behind the Haas. He moves himself up to P3. Nelly Safu up into P8. This is an incredible race. Oh, he spun! Oh, about to say this is an incredible race there from Nelly Safu, but unfortunately he's dropped the back end of the car. Not quite sure if it was contact because I only saw the aftermath of it, but hopefully he can get back on the circuit as quick as he can and go for it. Once again, we've got Kenny alongside Julian. Obviously, he's on the medium compound tyres as Kenny, so he'll be quicker than Julian. Obviously, Kenny didn't have a good qualifying session either, but he's up into P10 then, so hopefully he can score a good result out of this one, cut inside the top 10 and putting pressure on Aurelian. On Julian, as Leo is all over the back of Bonpierre. Bonpierre to sit and duck, vulnerable in this phase of the race. The outlier in this race because he's on the hard compound tyres. Old hards against new mediums. I say old hards, they're not too old, those hard compound tyres, especially about a safety car as well. And we've got a spinner, that is Smalley Balls. Unfortunately had a great qualifying session, but in the race has got completely the opposite, and he finds himself in last place then. We've got Leo there putting big pressure on Bonpierre. Will he go down the inside of the bus stop chicane? Yes he does. I love seeing moves down the inside. That's a bit too late, but it still keeps it on the track there with Bonpierre still there. But Bonpierre nothing to defend with because those tyres should have good traction as well, with the Walter coming up now. The Mercedes driver getting past Bonpierre too, so Bonpierre there, did he make the wrong call going on the staying on the hard compound tyres, but the rest of them went on the mediums?
It's easy to say in the beginning, of course, those medium rounds are gonna overtake very early on, but afterwards, after a couple of laps, you do expect the pace to balance out a bit more, as Smalley Balls has a unfortunate start to the season for him, at least in a cone right there. Actually, Bonpierre is being overtaken by a seat right now, but if Bonpierre can stick within the DRS window for a couple of laps, he can use those. He can use medium tires to full effect, because all these guys still have to make a pit stop, and expect Bonpierre to make a pit stop in like 4 or 3 to 2 laps time, and these medium runs will go a bit longer on this set right there. We have to keep our eye on Julian, as he's the driver who's actually on the hard tires now. He is of course started on the mediums and he's now on the hard tires, so if he can stick relatively close to the top guys right there, and if the medium tires do start to struggle, then Julian will gain position for that, so he's going to be one to look out for.
Yeah, good note to that, Steve, and obviously the rest of the guys ahead of him have to pit to go on the hards or mediums then, so he'll have a big advantage if he could stay with those guys, but not looking that way so far in this race. But I don't think he'll lose too much time because of what the net pit stops about over 20 seconds around here at the Spa Grand Prix. And Victor is under pressure then for rotation on the brand new set of mediums then, so his strategy did not work whatsoever. We've got Victor trying to make a move on Julian, but Julian closes the door immediately, and rotation switching sides, and now he's on the left hand side. Rotation getting a bad exit there, but bit of wheel spin coming out of that final corner, which not enabled him to get the power he needed and demanded to get past the Aston Martin. So the Aston Martin there survives the threat once again, but rotation so far behind. They'll have DRS then, so I think Julian there might find himself down into P12 at the end of this Campbell Straight because he's not look at Troye. Troye's there, has overtaken Tony. He's up into P now as the Ferrari driver. I thought Tony there almost at the back of him. Nathan's ahead of Bompia. Kenny's ahead of Victor. Rotation's ahead of Julian then. So a few moves on this straight with the Ferrari reservoir going up the inside too and into Lacombe. He rides the curve so much. And again, I think that might be 2 warnings in about 2 corners there. Reservoir, going to be very careful not to do that more than twice. But we saw quite a few moves then on the Campbell Straight with driver swap positions there with Nathan and Bompia swapping, Kenny and Victor swapping, rotation Reservoir and Julian swapping too, and Trey and Tony. And Victor's dropped down the order. He's gone for a spin, I think. Yes, he has. I have no name. And unfortunately there, Victor, despite making those moves, has now fallen into P17. And he's dropped out the order as well of the DRS train, and so looks like a lot of work to do for him in the Aston Martin. He has made a few appearances this season, has Victor. I think he almost lost the car again, and Stoken's almost lost the car too. He was all over the road there, going into that right-hander. And 3-second time penalty awarded to Cole there, and a few drivers there picking up penalties left, right, and centre. But it will be a disadvantage for Tony because he knows Trey will be after O'Reilly and he'll overtake him. So those two will be back together there. So he's in the pit lane. O'Reilly there has pulled the trigger to come in the pit lane to put on a brand new set of the medium compound tyres. Let's see how this goes for him.
Exactly, he's gonna put on a set of medium tyres right there. Very calm right there. Didn't really expect Carl's pit that early on. And if there's a safety car now, then he'll be screwed basically, because then Tony will have a free pit stop. Well, actually, Tony let Troy take the lead right there. Main thing Tony can do is stick within the DRS window of Troy right there. Hopefully use those tires, but Aurelian even doesn't have DRS right now, so he is going to have use that pace on pure merit right there, whilst Tony will have DRS from Troy right there. But let's see if Aurelian can really stretch these tires and push on this set.
Just saw a few moves on the straight there with a few drivers swapping positions. Bompia has been overtaken by Kenny. Kenny, a good strong drive for him, and a difficult qualifier session, it must be said, for Kenny, but looks like he's faring better in these dry conditions rather than the wet conditions there. So it looks like he's found his mojo in the dries, and both Mercedes there having a good strong drive, just considering the way they started outside the top 10. One's in P4, the other's in P7 then, so both Mercedes then put in on a strong show here at Spa. Kenny, next target is Nathan, and obviously those two are fighting the Hungarian Grand Prix as well, fighting for a podium with Kenny. And Kenny won out of that one, who finished in P3 with QRT Leroy also in that fight too, as he was able to take his first podium of the season, the finishman. And now he's in the DRS range of Nathan then, so let's see if Kenny will be able to put a fight on Nathan, as Leo there putting pressure on Tony, but I think Tony might be able to respond into the pit lane then from the undercut threat from Aurelian. Will he go to the pit lane? No, he stays out there, and Leo there will be putting massive pressure on Tony, leaving him no mercy whatsoever, being the Alpine teammate of Aurelian. But Tony, like you said, he's dropped out the DRS zone of Troy, so he doesn't have that protection anymore like he did a few laps ago. He lost traction, could have turn 1, has Tony, and Aurelian there plays it very smartly because he knows the DRS detection point is around about here, the white line, and he will wait for this straight then to overtake him. So will Walter, they're all right behind him. Don't want to make contact there, especially with the championship contenders wiping them out. And look, they're going 3 abreast, but look at that, Aurelian there on the grass with Walter alongside too. Tony there, corking a bottle, nothing can do about that. We've still got Walter and Leo going side by side there, wheel to wheel, going into Lacombe. Leo picks up a 3-second time penalty, and they make contact as well. Tony's back through. This is unbelievable. Walter gets shoved onto the dirt there. We've got Seam almost going up the inside too, but those two are not yielding. Oh, they made contact there, this Seam and Walter. But those two were not willing to yield whatsoever. Once they made their way past Tony, they were still going side by side into Lacombe. But argy-bargy there for both of them, as you can see Leo sliding going into Pouon. Tony up into P2 again.
Very interesting battling right there. Leo really getting his elbows up, maybe a bit too much against Wouter, really squeezing him off track right there, and that allowed Tony to go back on the inside there and regaining P2, but they lost all that time now to Troy, who's got a clean track right now, being 2.2 seconds clear. And with all the battling they're doing, they're losing so much time to Aurelian, who's just having made his pit stop right there, and just really pushing on that set. Has already gained 2 seconds on this lap alone to Nilu Safu right there. So Aurelian is looking really good right there. And actually Tony's going to the pits right now. Tony making that interesting pit stop right now. He doesn't want to be in the battle right there. He's gonna put on a set of medium tires. Where is he gonna rejoin compared to Aurelian? He will have about 2 laps fresher tires than the Alpine driver. So this is where the championship is gonna really spice up for this race.
Yeah, Aurelian has had the fastest lap. Walter is all over the back of Leo there. This is round 2 between these two, Leo versus Walter. Leo picked up a 3-second time penalty last lap around. He's going to fight hard once again. He's got no chance because he's not in the DRS range of anybody, as Tony's been separated from in the pit lane, as Walter there has moved up into P2. But Leo's still there! You don't want to be doing that, because I think Leo should have backed out of that one. It was Walter's corner. They're going side by side once again. Leo not willing to give up here, but he had to this time. That was a bit, I think Leo should have played it smart there and not put his nose up the inside. We've got a Williams who spun. Thankfully it's not Tony. Oh, I say thankfully. Fortunately for him, it's not Tony. It's Delano, unfortunately, it must be said. And he's into P17.
Exactly that. Wouter up to P2 right there. Leo picking up a couple of penalties right there, which will only be beneficial for him as Nathan's now in P5. I think it's quite race, but still a good race right there for AlphaTauri driver. But his teammate now out in P19, unfortunately. He's gonna have to score some points for AlphaTauri. We've had a difficult season in general, with Jeroen really not delivering to his expectations right there, and Jeroen also not being in the race today. But he's gonna be close there, and if he can carry on this momentum, of course with Tony and Aurelian still have to gain some positions, he'll probably end up near P5. But that's still a good performance there with Nathan, who's steadily improving race by race.
Yeah, Nathan is as well. Been quiet one for Nathan this race, but he's got Kenny all over the back of him as well, as Bompier makes his pit stop. So last of the hard runners to go in the pit lane, as those three did not pit. But Leo gets out of shape coming out of turn 1 then, which is going to allow Walter to pull away ever so slightly, with Sieb all over the back of him. Sieb as well, but he also got a 3-second time penalty, so this could be a big opportunity for Nathan to gain a podium. Where's Tony in all of this? Posh Evans is right behind Aurelian, but I think Aurelian has the upper hand on him with fresher tyres. Tony is in the back of him, and Kenny up into P5. This is a strong performance from ERO Kenny. What a drive from the finishman there. This could be his chance for a podium too. A second podium of the season if he can get it. If it is the outcome. But look at rotation up into P7 as well, just considering what happened to him at the safety cars. It's not over yet for rotation in P7. He still could be up there where he should be, as he gets a bit of a slide coming out. Oh, look at that, he's gone to the exit of no name. That's definitely going to be a warning for him, exceeding track limits like that, so he can be very careful not to do that more than twice, otherwise that's a penalty coming his way and could put him a massive disadvantage towards the end as well.
Exactly. I was thinking about maybe a certain strategy right there, and are we going to potentially see some medium runs try to stick it to the end of the session right there? That will be a very difficult task right there, with Aurelian pitting halfway through the race, but it could maybe be possible right there, and that could really haunt Aurelian and Tony's progress right there, as actually Kenny picks up a penalty right now, so that's advantage Nathan, who's currently in that battle then for P3, following the Alpine, Mercedes, Aston Martin, or actually both Mercedes. Actually, we've got a medium runner pitting right now with rotation, now making a stop right there, Snoken as well, so that really just puts my theory out there with the medium runners make it till the end. I don't think that's going to be possible at all with 2 medium runners now pitting. That promotes Aurelian now up to P9 once again, and Tony outside the top 10 still, but he's going to overtake Evans Joshua any moment now, and he's only 3 seconds behind him with 2 laps fresh tyres.
And Julian's under massive pressure because he's got Victor on his left, and also Aurelian will be there on his left as well, so Julian couldn't respond at all with both of them have DRS then, so that's up one place for Aurelian there with the benefits of the DRS. His next target is Victor, and I dare say Victor will be overtaken easily with the upper hand Aurelian has on the tyre advantage. In the background we just saw Tony come through as well, so expect him to arrive on the scene shortly as well, and he hopes that he can overtake those two quickly as Aurelian did as well. So let's hope that's the case for Tony. But yeah, like you said, so we've got rotation back in the pit lane and on the medium compound tyres. Maybe those tyres not able to go to the end and make the distance. Maybe they expected more safety cars as well in this race, because the safety car came out very early and those hard runners went on the mediums quite early in that race too. As you can see, they're already taking a lot of curb. He's all over the back. He knows he wants to overtake him on the straight. There's no need to try and force him up the inside. He's got this in the bag. He just needs to be very patient as well. You don't want to make contact with the driver on slower tyres, or older tyres, it must be said. But looks like Orwin then draining the battery. He can be very careful where he makes his move. He's going to go side by side now with Victor. Victor has nothing to respond with, unfortunately, in the Aston Martin. As we make our way now through Blanchimont, flat out through that corner, over about 190 miles an hour, as Victor there does not go down in the inside. Then he knows best not to do that, because he knows the guy ahead is on fresher tyres, and he'll stick behind him as he drops Julian out of his DRS for good measure as well. And Tony just emerging in the background there. He's getting ever so closer towards Julian as he sets the fastest lap of the race then. So Tony is on a charge. But I'm intrigued, we've got 5 laps left to go in this race. Can the mediums, can those guys in at the top 8, already out of the top 8, from those guys in the top 6 to Victor, can they go at the end on the medium compound tyres? I wonder, maybe they'll drop towards the end of the cliff shortly.
Surely they would, but with only 5 laps to go, I don't really expect them to pit now. Some guys do have penalties, and with it being the last race of the season, you're not really gonna lose much, especially with the guys outside the top 10. They're just gonna try to get a podium potentially. Because this was the last, probably a race there, last race of the season, of course. But yeah, just trying to get a good result here. But Aurelian, with those fresh tires, will gain a couple of seconds per lap. But having to overtake them is going to be difficult as well. We have to watch out for the gap between Tony and Aurelian right now. Tony's slowly but surely closing that gap. He's really pushing these tires to the absolute limit right there, trying to catch the Alpine driver before the Alpine driver catches the Alpha Tauri and both Mercedes cars and his teammate of Aurelian. So Tony has got really good pace right now, but can he carry on this momentum right there?
Yeah, now Tony is in the DRS range of Victor then, so Victor will be under pressure once again as we head onto the straight very shortly with them as they make their way through Blanchimont, going down into the bus-stop chicane. Leo is still putting pressure on Walter. Those guys are not able to respond ever since that battle with Tony and themselves got caught up in a melee with the drama as well, and that's why Troyer was able to pull a 3.8 second gap on Walter as Troyer there pitted at the right time of this race and have a good pace to go with it too. Looks like his strategy worked out for him in the end. I think pitting on lap 7 was the norm for the first safety car. I think Aurelian there and Tony lost out to race win and victory. I don't think Aurelian really cares that much because he knows he's fighting for a championship. As long as Tony's behind him, that's all he cares about. And here comes Tony then, and he pulls to the right hand side to make a move on Victor. Down the inside he goes into Lacombe. His next target is Aurelian, and let's see if we can catch him or not. These two have. I wish Tony didn't have a qualifying ban because I'd love to see these two battle all the way out, but unfortunately that's not the case. But they're close together on track with Bompier overtaking Delano as Delano actually drops another place then, so he loses 2 places there into Lacombe, and he gets demoted down into P15 there with Resify moving up the order. Delano's on all the tyres too. He pitted along with the other guys with the safety car, and he went for a spin early on his race, early on in this race at Lacombe too. So that's what indicates why he's so far down the field. Unfortunately, the number 96 driver, the driver from LOI as well, and his fellow competitor Jack did a very good strong performance at the start of the season as well, did that LOI driver. And welcome to everybody that's joining the stream. Troy is leading the race with 4 laps to go in this race. If you wonder what's happened, why they're all mixed up in the order, that's because an early safety car came on lap 7 which jumboed up the order as some decided to stay out and the majority of them went to the pit lane, and the majority that went to the pit lane looks like they made the right call in the end as Tony and Aurelian there stayed on the hard compound tyres, but it hasn't gone their way at all. But like I said earlier on, I don't think Aurelian really cares because he knows Tony's behind him. That's all he's focused on is Tony, whether he wins the race or not. However, Tony just wants a decent result after starting down in P17 and knowing that his chance of winning the title is not likely unless Aurelian will make a mistake, which is not on the cards for Aurelian because he barely makes any, as we've seen from this season. Rotation has overtaken Posh Evans there, and he moves up into P11. Rotation being the latest to pit in this race, up into P11. I don't think whatever happened on that medium stint, I don't think he was enjoying those tyres whatsoever, so he wanted to pit and put on a fresher set and take them towards the end. And it's unfortunate for Rotation. What could he have done as well in Saudi Arabia, because things did not go away his way in Jeddah at all when the safety car came out. The safety car came at the wrong time for Rotation, as Joshua might be coming back at him, but he doesn't do so on that occasion. Stays behind him for the time being, As Sloken has moved up into P. Oh, Joshua Spawn! Has he hit the wall? Yes, he has! But luckily there, he did not lose his wheel.
Slight mistake there from Tony right there, trying to catch Aurelian right there, and all the time he's just losing with only 4 laps to go. It's gonna be so difficult for him because he has to win the race as well. To get as many positions as possible. He's scored Aurelian by 11 points, and he's only in P8 with 2 laps to go after this, with Troy crossing by any moment now, and I don't even think Aurelian will overtake these guys ahead. They even seems to be struggling a bit of pace on his tires right there, but even then I don't think Aurelian will overtake Kenny. See, actually Kenny's going into the pit, so I'm presuming these medium runs are very close to puncture territory, with Kenny now going into the pits right there. Very late stop there, probably going on soft tires that will promote other cars. Victor also going to the pit, so all these cars are very close to puncture territory now, and this race will be very close there, with Aurelian now in the DRS window of Nathan right there, and probably gonna overtake him on the back straight right there.
I'm trying to figure out where the yellow flags are. I think... Oh, Delano's gone for a spin. Has he got a puncher like you said? No, he hasn't. He's just gone for a spin. Those tyres are dying. Aurelian's got Nathan. He moves himself up into P5. That's one driver done on those medium compound tyres. Those mediums then are coming to the end of their cliff. I think they're struggling, like you said. I've seen this scenario before at the Belgium Grand Prix where those safety cars came out. Drivers are taking to the end on those medium compound tyres, but they've got into punchy territory. So let's see if that's the case then. Look at Nathan's tyres. Look at the state of them. He's driving very slowly now as Aurelian's just blasted down the road. So it could pay favours to those drivers who stayed out later on those hard compound tyres. We'll never know who has nursed those tyres the best. Troy's had the advantage. Let's see if he's managed his tyres the best. We saw Leo versus Walter. That could have taken some life out of those tyres going side by side and wheel to a race between those guys then. So it's not over yet because Tony is right there in the background too. Nathan is really struggling there, going very slowly on those medium compound tyres. It looks like they're coming to an end on their stint, and Aurelian might be in a might have a chance to get back on the podium. Rotation, nope, that's his teammate. No, that's Rotation who's gone for a spin, unfortunately.
So there with Westphal now picking up a penalty right there in P11, really struggled in the race. Starting P4 right there. And
oh, Troy's in the pits!
With Troy now entering the pits right there. A very late call there for the Ferrari driver. With only 2 laps to go, with now Bouter retaking the lead right there. Leo in second and Sieb now in third place, with Aurelian following close behind. He's got so much more traction, Aurelian has, so he's gonna really make easy work there of Sieb, who's actually still in the DRS window of Leo right there. Leo keeping Sieb in the DRS right there. Probably a bit of strategy heading into play, but Aurelian's got so much more pace than him and regains that third spot and spot on the podium right there. Now Tony also making an overtake against Nathan right there. Nathan really struggling on his tires, with Julian now probably gonna head close right there, only 5.4 seconds behind, and Troy rejoining at P8 on soft tires right there, ahead of Kenny right there as Delano retires into the pits. Bit of a shame there for the I think Williams driver there, just couldn't get performance out there unfortunately. And look at the difference of grip there, and you can clearly see that Leo has got preference for his teammate. Look how much grip Leo is losing right there. We're just really understeering wide right there, and this is gonna play advantage to Tony right there, as he's gonna close that gap right there. And Wouter's really got to try to defend this lead right there. This looks more like a Charles Leclerc performance right there in F2 2017 Bahrain, because Aurelian had to make an extra pit stop and gave all the time back. He was at the back of the field and now has regained the lead right there, and this is a champions driver if I ever seen one.
Absolutely agree on that one. Aurelian there showing us what he could do, and he is in PSGL F1 for a reason, and he's doing a fantastic job so far. I never thought he could do it, you know, clawing his way back through the field just like that, just picking off one by one. These drivers are struggling. Troy though, what happened to him and down in P8? Was he super close? Did he push those medium compound tyres a bit too hard there down in P8? Because he won't give up a win like that, having a 3.8 second gap, pitting with only 2 laps to go. So he must have been so close to puncture territory. Did he start on the hard compound tyres? And I think he did start on the hard compound tyres.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
He
so
did.
there's no reason to pit, would there? Unless he's super close to a puncher. I'm just keeping an eye on all these guys' tyres here. Tony's in P5. He's got 3 cars ahead. This is the final lap of the race. Tony will get P3 because the 2 ahead of him have penalties, but he's right behind. In fact, it's been a mistake, is Tony. And Trey's got past. Julian's up into P7 now. Is Trey. But keep an eye on Tony then, his tyres were in so much fresher. This could be another Daniel Ricciardo situation as well. We went on fresher tyres back in 2019 and picked his cars off. Going side by side, look at this, in no name. You don't see moves through there. And look at that then, Tony is up as a P4. Next target is Leo. He might get a P2 on merit here due to the pure pace he has in that Williams. Here comes, Tony on Leo. And this could be so close between those two. Tony, will he go around the outside of this right-hander? Yes, he will. Oh, how so close! Leo's in a spin almost! And he goes sideways off the track. And he moves himself. He's started to P5 now. The podium will belong to Tony now in P3. And look at that then, he's behind Walter. So I think this is a good comeback drive from Tony, from P17 to P2 or 3, depends if he can get Walter down this straight, but I don't think he will. He's too far back unless Walter gets a bad exit coming out of the bus stop chicane. And will he though? I don't think so. I think Walter has it, but Orin in there will come across the line to win the Belgian Grand Prix and to take the championship. Look at that, Tony side by side with Walter. Who got ahead? It was Walter, just there, centimetres separating those two, and Walter there remains in P2. What, that was so close between those two there, unbelievable stuff. And Trey, despite pitting, up into P4 on those soft compound tyres towards the end. That is incredible there, action at the Belgian Grand Prix all the way through. Tony's left the session. Is it frustration? I'm not quite sure. What more could he have done? I'm not quite sure. But Aurelien is the CRL Tier 1 champion. Congratulations there to Aurelien. What a fantastic drive. And he's been closing down Tony race by race, just hunted him down ever so slightly a few races ago, taking the championship lead away from him in 3 races to go in this race. I think it was the Mexican Grand Prix where he took it from Tony. After leading it majority of the way, unfortunately Tony lost it. And what could it have been for Tony if he didn't make those mistakes at Baku where he crashed in the wall by himself, and Mexican Grand Prix where he lost a whole of points as well. He'll look back and think those mistakes he's done and what could have been for Tony. But Aurelien there, claiming the championship for a reason, keeping it clean, putting in the results and the good work, and he's the Tier 1 champion. Congratulations towards Aurelien there. Fantastic drive from him in the Alpine.
Very much served there. There's been, especially the second half of the season, where he was trying to gain points to Tony and keep putting on the pressure on him to win, to gain points on him, and essentially, and then at some point Tony made some mistakes, and then he won the championship from it. So very much deserved, but that doesn't rule out that Tony has driven a very good season right there. Has driven a very good season in the beginning where he had a very big advantage, where like 40 points, 50 points. Shame he couldn't keep it going, but he can still be proud of the season he put in, because compete against someone with that caliber of driving is of course never easy, and he pushed him all the way. Here again, he got quite close, but not close enough, and the qualifying ban wasn't always gonna make his life easy. If he was maybe second on the grid, then maybe things would have pointed out different, but that's the way it is going to be, and we have a deserved champion.
I can only do a podium interview for one driver, unfortunately. That's going to be Aurelien, our champion, so I'm going to invite him to the podium interview and we'll get started straight away.
That's um, a podium interview. And it's gonna be with our champion here. Looking forward to it. If he's actually gonna join, and if not, unfortunately, if he doesn't join, we'll just talk a little bit about the season and how we felt the season was. I'll say within the commentary box. We're just gonna wait for him to join. Hopefully, you guys are there to be watching that as well. Let's see if he's gonna join or if he has the
There
time.
he is.
There he is.
Hello.
Hello, mate. So let's get straight to it then. What a fantastic drive from you at the Belgian Grand Prix, and at the end, it turned out to be actually the right call. Did you know about the tyre wear on this track? Because I know you had PSGL a few months ago at the Belgian Grand Prix. I didn't watch it all, but did you have experience around knowing the tyre wear on this track, and that's why you chose the strategy you did? Did you know that the guys ahead on the medias were going to struggle towards the end?
Yes, because I had a challenger yesterday, so I think I put the mediums yesterday on lap 9, and I finished on 75 or 80 or something, so I knew they can't do until the end, so that's why I decided to stay a bit on hards and to... It was a bit risky because if the lap I pit, if a safety car happened, I was in big trouble. But fortunately, it didn't happen. So yeah, I'm really happy to win the race and the championship also.
Yeah, also about the championship. Congratulations as well, you deserve that one. How does it feel to win the championship? Because at the beginning of the season, it wasn't your strong point, but towards the second part of the season, you really just nipped down at Tony's championship there. So talk us through your season overall. Like what's been your best race of the season, and also what's been the lows of the season too.
My best race was probably Hungary. This was a track I really like, and I won by I don't remember, but 10 seconds or something, or I don't remember. So this was maybe the most dominant race I did this season. But it's true that in the beginning of the season I had big issues, like in Brazil, where I put myself in the wall just by myself, and I lost a lot of points. Also in Netherlands, where an incident with Troy, where I got like we had desync maybe, so I finished in the wall. So it was also big points lost, and of course also in Saudi, where I was in good position also, and Troy again spun me around. So it was a bit annoying, to be honest, but it's good to still do the comeback and to win the championship. And also congrats to Tony, who did a good season also, and this was a nice fight until the end.
Yeah, you mentioned your DNS, because not only Tony had bad races as well, but you had some bad races. I think you mentioned the Dutch Grand Prix where Tony did take you out, and like you said, Brazil. So not only you lost a whole bunch of points as well, not only Tony lost a whole bunch of points as well in this season, you have as well with 3 races. Look at like Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Netherlands as well, and you managed to come back very strong towards the second part of it as well. So what part of the season did you think that you had was a contention for the championship?
I remember 5 races ago, I saw I was like 40 points to Tony and Troy, and maybe also Water was ahead of me, and so I thought it was still possible to win it. So I tried to finish the race first and to be out of the trouble and to take win. Tony also gets some bad luck in I don't remember which races it was, but I remember I took 20 points.
Baku?
Yeah, probably. I took 20 points directly, so it was it already reduced the gap by half. So after it was he was closer, so it was I don't know how to say that, but maybe it was easier to be in the fight for the championship.
And coming into this race, what was your expectation? Were you a bit nervous at all going into this race about the championship?
No, not really. I knew that I did a race yesterday, so I knew all the strategy, etc. So I just wanted to be out of the trouble, and I was a bit disappointed when I saw the rain, because I'm not really quick in raining condition. But P2 was still good, and Troy was really low wings, so it was a bit difficult to pass him, and it was in the pits, and the strategy was better.
Yeah, into this race as well, and Troy was alongside you. Were you ever nervous about making contact with Troy there in the race? Because obviously he has nothing to lose and he's going to go for it. So, if it was a normal race plan, were you just thinking about following Troy in the DRS train and overtaking later, or something like that?
When he overtook Tony, so he was right behind me. So I said myself, okay, I will pit this lap because otherwise he can kill me. So yeah.
And that was the right call at the end because you overtook everybody and in lap 21 as well. I wasn't expecting that at all, but what a fantastic drive that was for you. Also had an upper hand with the practice you had as well in the Challengers and PSGL a few months ago. So you're the champion for a reason, Aurelian. And Stefan, you got any questions for AXA here? And also, Aurelian, I didn't know you were AXA until a few weeks ago or something like that. Because yeah, you changed your name, didn't you? And I didn't realise you were AXA, so I'd like to talk to you again, mate, after all these years.
Yeah, I changed with Shaizu.
Ah, I see. But Stefan, you got any questions for Aurelian?
Yeah, I have some questions, one or two. First of all, congratulations on the championship. A very much deserved champion. It was a very tough fight throughout the season. But what do you reckon with the next game being literally a month away now already? Are you gonna looking forward to be racing again next season, or are you gonna have some different plans, maybe?
I need to see, because maybe it depends also with all the team events, etc. So, but if I can be here as a reserve, or maybe full driver if I can, I will do it.
That sounds good, mate. Let me think of a question. Oh damn, I got put on the spot a little bit. What do you think about other drive? Maybe, of course, the quality of drivers was kind of high with, of course, Tony challenging for the championship, but teammate especially coming through near the end of the season there, with good qualifying sessions and being there in the race, letting you through. What do you think about your team play? Was there any strategy in terms of that, or was it just guessing game throughout the race?
Yeah, I saw Leo improved a lot during the season, and yeah, Tony also was quick, and yeah, he Leo let me through before Pont to, so like this it was easier to take the win today, and yeah, maybe also maybe a bit of teamwork, like when he reported Tony last week or something, and and yeah, overall it's I think some people use a lot of assist, so it's it's sometimes it's a disadvantage, like in the rain, because they have all the lines, etc. So they know how to brake, etc. And without that, you don't have, you can't, you brake with the feeling. So it's maybe a bit of disadvantage in the rain, but overall the no assist is quicker, so it's not an excuse.
Okay, yeah, definitely I agree. Hopefully we're gonna see some more no assist drivers next time out. It definitely, the drivers that went into no assist definitely increased from the previous season to this season. So hopefully we're gonna see some more jumps with no assist drivers. I know Tony is gonna switch to no assist for next game. He already did some no assist races for IRT, and he's gonna switch over to no assist for next game. Out fully in leagues as well, and then hopefully Leo as well. So that will definitely increase the quality of drivers and preparation for events and leagues. So well, that's it for me. I don't think I've got any questions left. Congratulations once again. Hopefully we get to see you once again next season, because it's been a pleasure seeing you compete in this tier and having to commentate you. I've certainly learned a lot from it, because of course you're a very high quality driver, so hopefully I get to see you next season once again.
Thank you.
Lastly from me, I just looked at the Discord server. Troy was listening to what you said over here, and he said shots fired.
I didn't check yet. What did
Yeah,
he say?
he's in the Discord server. He's listening to the interviews, what you're saying right now, and it's funny to listen, because that was funny. But yeah, last
he
word.
listened the interview.
Yeah, he told me the paddock in tier 1. But yeah, once again, over here, it's nice to have you in Cone, and for your first season, you won the championship, so that's fantastic already. And yeah, have a good weekend, mate, and it's nice to talk to you again, and we'll see you when the season starts once again.
Yep. Thank you, guys. See you.
See you.
Bye bye.
And we'll round off then for Cone. This is the championship over. Unfortunately, that went so quick. We started 3 months ago. The first Grand Prix at the Chinese Grand Prix with Isak Kushman in it, and now Lavina's won the last one. And any last words, Stephen?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure commentating alongside you, Jamie. You're a class commentator, and a really good one, because the preparation you do for these for commentary is incredible, and definitely an example for other drivers. Yeah, you're a really good commentator, and if you carry on this preparation and developing your commentary skills, then you can for sure commentate in high tier leagues, for example, because you definitely deserve that, as you're a really good commentator. So hopefully we get to see you again next season. I'm not sure if I'm going to carry on with commentary, but for this season it's been enjoyable, and hopefully we can do it once again in the future for next game.
Oh, I appreciate those kind words, mate. I think I'm safe in the commentary box, done on the track. But yeah, I appreciate those kind words from you. Yeah, you've been an excellent co-commentator too. Pleasure to have you all season long as well. And thanks for others jumping in from the absence from me and Steven, because I missed one race this season. Had to have one race off, and it was the Mexico Grand Prix. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to commentate for Cove for the past 3 years. Ever since I joined in Tier 2 alongside Jonathan at the Hungarian Grand Prix. So thank you for Cohen for providing me this opportunity ever since 3 years ago when I made my debut here at the Australian Grand Prix. And thank you for letting me commentate Tier 1 as well, and Tier 3 and Tier 4 and whatever tier you want me to commentate whenever you need it. But yeah, unfortunately no Imola GP this weekend after it got cancelled due to the bad weather around that region, so shout out to all the emergency service helping and hopefully
shout out to Yuki Tsunoda, who's actually helping out in Fuenza, I think it's called, or something.
Yeah, Fuenza.
Town there. Fuenza. He's actually helping out there, clear the dirt, clear the water. So massive respect to Yuki Tsunoda for helping out the locals with the terrestrial conditions, and hopefully everyone can stay safe there and get to live or get to normal society soon, because it's not nice to see that at all. And FIA and the locals definitely made the right decision by cancelling the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Not safe to race there whatsoever, and also with the emergency services as well, it won't be fair to put pressure on them. So hopefully the emergency services and can get it all sorted get it all stopped and sorted sometime. And yeah, that's it from us, and we'll ride it off then, and we'll be back for more cone racing action somewhere in the future. But once we do that, we will be on the F1 23 game then, so it'll be a massive change once you see us back on this channel again, and we'll round off the stream there. So yeah, that is it for us, and have a good weekend. We'll enjoy the Monaco Grand Prix next weekend, and that is it from us. Goodbye for now.